at Ger Owen was unbelievable at the 2008 Olympics game on the Xbox. Apparently, he was in the top 100 in the world. Were you?
Yeah, thank you very much for whoever sent that in. I was, absolutely. So they had this, I think, overall leaderboard. Or was this
Global.
the 2012? Yeah, I can't remember. No, I think it was 2012. I think it was London 2012, actually, that game. I get mixed up between the two
Were
of
you
them,
not
but I think it
working
was
here at that stage?
not yet. No, not yet. Thankfully, I was still at home in Kerry, still in my kind of almost man cave, whatever the kind of in between boy and man is. And I was exceptionally good at that game. Exceptionally good. The whole process was how quickly could you bash the buttons A and B, and that's how quickly you ran.
And
I was unbelievably good at that.
Are there any other, any other applications of this in real life that this was good training for later on? Like,
Well, bragging right now, obviously. I'm applying it right now. And yeah, if anybody has London 2012 and wants to take on the absolute master, I will destroy you in it. Archery as well, exceptionally good at that. Any of the aquatics. In real life, I'm obviously a terrible swimmer. But in London 2012 on the Xbox 360, I will swim the legs off you.
So anybody who's been paying any attention to us over the last couple of months realises that we were doing Swim for a Mile with Swim Ireland, and we were due to do it next month. And obviously, it's off for now. It's indefinitely postponed. But what has also happened over the last while is Andy Lee put up a video, or somebody put up a video of Andy Lee training a couple of his fighters. I think it was Paddy Donovan and I'm not sure.
Jason Quigley, I think.
Jason Quigley was in it, that's right, yeah. Where they're doing this Jolene challenge where Dolly Parton sings Jolene, and every time she says the word Jolene, they've got to do a push-up. Now, I think they were doing it from fists, so they were lying, doing push-ups on their fists as opposed to on their hands, which makes it even more difficult. I tried it yesterday because I figured that, like, by the end of this, I'd like to be able to, it's either sit on my couch and eat all of the chocolate that I got for the however long this is going to be, which I've already done, and just calcify into Jabba the Hutt again, or try and somehow stay fit and healthy. And so I'm going to take the Jolene challenge.
Oh.
And I'm going to try and do it. It hasn't started very well. I did it yesterday, and I couldn't get through the first verse. And the first verse is actually and even the chorus. The first verse and the chorus are the same thing, essentially. So this is very tricky.
Well, I see I was like thinking of challenges to do over the course of the next weeks, and I was thinking about just taking a drink every time they say the F word in The Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. You've obviously chosen a far more healthy.
You're going to run out of drink. I mean,
I will run out of drink, and I will be not only Jabba the Hutt, I will be an unconscious Jabba the Hutt, and you will never hear from me ever again. It's a good point. I think that's a very relatable thing you just said there. Everybody's kind of stocked up on junk food, and it is all gone at this point. I've certainly demolished my job. I've got a few cream eggs here. But cream eggs are terrible. We all know that. They're literally the worst piece of confectionery ever invented. But I'll probably get to cream egg stage at some point today.
Yeah. It didn't last very long. Didn't last very long. It's like, oh, this is going to see us through two of the big bars of the big proper Dairy Milk Cadbury's, which I was like intending to keep and gone, both gone. And not the small ones, and not the medium ones, the big ones, both gone, and and nothing is stopping or slowing that down. So if anybody has any ideas about how to ration the rations, this is the bit where we absolutely need the spirit of the Blitz and our parents and grandparents who lived through rationing in the past. This is why, society likes to keep its elders around so that they can tell you stuff, unless, of course, if you're the British government and you've decided that economically they might be disposable. If you want to get in touch with us this morning, you can text us 087 918 180. Here's what's coming up. Graham Hunter's going to join us at 8 o'clock. A massive, momentous day in European football. The Euros were cancelled yesterday from 2020 to 2021. It leaves countless questions unanswered, not the least of which is what's going to happen with the Republic of Ireland manager's job if we do qualify. We're going to talk about life in Spain, obviously, with Graham, just to see how intense that lockdown is. And Joe Brawley's going to join us at 8:15 to find out what the situation is like in the north. Obviously, there's a very different policy being pursued by the British government. The DUP and Sinn Féin seem to have very different ideas about what to do with the schools in the north. And it's leading to a lot of confusion. So we'll speak with Joe Brawley at around about 8:15. Sports news with Phil coming your way at 8:35. We've spoken with Davy Fitz about what it means for the GAA in hurling. We'll hear from him at around about 8:40. And then a very special edition of The Snap, which is our NFL show. We're going to do two of these this week because there is so much news coming your way. Cian Fahey's going to join us at 8:45. We'll talk about Tom Brady and everything else that's happened, because the NFL obviously has locked down all of its facilities, but they didn't stop free agency. And in a way, that's very good, because it gives us something to talk about and to distract us all from the terrible news that we're living with on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, so that's what's coming up on the show this morning. If you want to get in touch with us, at Off the Ball AM is the specific Twitter account for the show, or of course you can just tweet us at Off the Ball and use the hashtag OTB AM, and we'll get that. We're also picking up comments on the YouTube channel as well, and we're live on that now. So let's bring you through the newspapers this morning.
OTB AM.
I'm going to start with offtheball.com this morning, and the main story there is the fact that Tom Brady has actually left the New England Patriots and has now subsequently announced that he's joining the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's 30 to 35 million a year for a 2-year deal. He immediately inherits a much better receiving core than he had, but this is one of the biggest stories, really, that you're ever going to have in world sport. A 6-time Super Bowl champion not being able to do a deal with his current team and leaving. And I don't know what you think about this, Owen, but I'm very surprised. I thought that they were just going to roll the deal over and he was going to play out his days, and that was it. That was going to be the perfect end to what has been a perfect career.
Yeah, are you surprised by the location though? Like if you're given the information that he's going to leave New England, like it seems like a decent fit for a number of reasons. Like I know you made a Freudian slip at the top saying he retired, but like this is Tom Brady. I think if he's going to retire, he's going to retire. I don't think he's going to Florida to chill out for a couple of years. Like I think he's looked at this and said, first of all, I've got a much better chance of reaching a Super Bowl if I move from the AFC to the NFC. Second of all, as you mentioned there, a great receiving core. You're going to have Mike Evans at his disposal, one of the best receivers in the league. That surely improves his prospects of having a good season next year as well. And also, like Tampa are decent. Like historically, despite the fact that they have a Super Bowl, I think have they the worst record in the history of the NFL, certainly in terms of shipping big defeats. But right now, they're not the worst. They've had a quarterback last year who threw the ball away quite a bit. And still, what do they have, a 7-9 record? That is not dire by any stretch of the imagination. Like he's not trying to turn around a team from tanking to Super Bowl. He's going to take a mid-rate team and try and get them into the playoffs. Like, so I think it's a very achievable thing with Tom Brady, a quarterback there. Like I'm personally looking forward to the whole retirement home derby between the Saints and the Buccaneers next year, because of course they're going to be in the NFC South division together, Drew Brees and Tom Brady. So there's a number of different storylines here. But certainly just looking at it from my perspective, if Tom Brady was going to leave the New England Patriots and stay playing football, the Buccaneers doesn't seem like the worst decision in the world.
Well, it's obviously a very nice part of the world to live in. Well, then you're there in late summer when it's swampy and the weather is so hot that if you walk outside, even Tom Brady will sweat in it. Like, I think the East Coast thing was important because, as far as I know, the family lives in New York. There was some talk that Boston, but they sold the $20 million house in Boston, and they've got some massive corner building, I think on Fifth Avenue. Somebody will correct us on that. And so it was important for him to be able to jet home and spend time there, as opposed to moving to LA, which was the other option. Apparently the LA Chargers made a big play for him. The thing about the Chargers is that we would come up against Patrick Mahomes twice a year, every year, guaranteed, which I thought that actually that would have appealed to Brady. It was like, okay, I'm going to try and get this team. And they also have a brilliant receiving core, as well as some pieces on defense. So I don't know. I think the thing about Tampa, the thing about the Buccaneers last year is that their offensive line, the job of the offensive line is to protect the quarterback from getting hit. They're not great, and so he's going to get hit a lot. He's going to be spending a lot of time throwing the ball away and trying not to get hit, or getting up off the ground having been hit just after the ball was gone, in the style of the English rugby team attacking the opposition out half. So I think for me, the big thing is that an absolute legend of one city who spent 20 years there, who has become synonymous with their success, has decided that there is something better and more important. And it seems because he wasn't given enough love. It's kind of like Steven Gerrard leaving for 1 or 2 seasons and going to join, I don't know who. Like, there's a team that he thinks could have been better than Liverpool, a team on the same level as that Liverpool side. Like, maybe Chelsea for a couple of years. I don't know.
I don't know. It's a difficult one. Like, I think it's probably a rung below that. It's like Steven Gerrard leaving to join Newcastle or something like that, is it? So like
Yeah,
I
and
would say
bear
that's
in mind
probably
that Liverpool team at the end weren't great, so I don't know.
yeah. Like like it's going to be an interesting situation as to Brady and how we view him in independence of someone like Bill Belichick. And do we still have this view that Bill Belichick was the engine behind Brady for a lot of his latter years? Because I think that was certainly the case. Like he's going to be 43 years old, and I didn't know that about the offensive. Like if he's got a shaky offensive line in front of him as a 43-year-old man, that is a very, very dangerous situation to be in as an athlete. We'll run you through some of the other back pages this morning. I've got the Star here. We've got the UK version. No idea is the headline for the Daily Star. FA chief admits he's totally in the dark over whether the season will ever finish. And Barnett lay off 60 staff. This has been, of course, the big danger with coronavirus calling off football in the UK, that lower league clubs would suffer. And Barnett, the first one there to be suffering big time. And the last hurrah as racing shuts down.
That's the UK Star. Obviously, the Irish Star on the back page is match of delay. UEFA makes Euros call, but the big league still facing fixtures chaos. They're racing to stand still. The Board of Horse Racing Ireland will meet today, and up for discussion will be whether or not they continue to race behind closed doors. Aviva Euros sales pitch. Never miss a genuine opportunity. We might get more games in the Euros in a year's time, is the thrust of Paul Evans' story, because a couple of the stadiums in which there are games scheduled have concerts. So Hampden Park and Parken Stadium in Copenhagen are already committed to hosting concerts during next year's rescheduled finals. And some of the cities may rethink it. The Irish Independent, their back page, no Euros guarantee for McCarthy. Current boss and Kenny both keen to lead Ireland for delayed championship. Mick McCarthy is set to enter June's rescheduled Euros playoff without a guarantee he'll get to manage Ireland at the finals if they do qualify. The logic of John Delaney's controversial succession plan, which sees Stephen Kenny replace McCarthy on August the 1st, is under fresh spotlight, with the tournament pushed back to 2021 and the playoffs fixed for this summer. So, on the face of it, this does look like a stereotypical cluster beep. However, let's just tease out the various possibilities here, Owen. They say the games will happen in June, the qualifiers will happen in June, and the following year would be when the tournament happens. Are the qualifiers going to happen in June? I'm not sure. There might be no organised football until September, at which point the qualifiers would probably get kicked back to September. Maybe there will be matches in June, and that would be absolutely amazing, because a lot of good stuff would have to happen between now and then. But Ireland have to win those games for this to actually be an issue. They have to win 2 games back to back. I don't remember the last time that we won 2 big games back to back. Certainly 2 away games back to back.
Well, that's the thing. If the games do end up going ahead, at least this summer, and Ireland lose them, then this is not an issue. This is only an issue if we have qualifiers before the start of the 2020-2021 season and Ireland are successful in qualifying for the Euros. So I think it's as simple as that. I think if Ireland lose against Slovakia or beat Slovakia and lose their second qualifier, then Mick McCarthy is out straight away and Stephen Kenny is in. It's simple as that. But if they win and qualify for the Euros, for Euro 2021, I think Mick McCarthy has to be manager. I just think that this is part of the deal. You qualified us for a tournament. You can see the tournament out, and then you're done. Yes, it is a weird deal, and I'm not for one second saying it was the correct thing to do at the time, but this is where we're at. So you have to honour this, really. Like, I think it's a really unusual situation for Mick McCarthy to be told, nah, you're not bringing us to the Euros. You got us here, but you're not taking us into the actual tournament.
It's very far away. Like, it's an extra year of a contract that you don't have written down. Do you know what I mean? It's like you signed a deal for, I know, really, really extenuating circumstances, but from a financial perspective, Mick McCarthy costs way more than Stephen Kenny does. Like, in the world that we're going to be living in come June, will the FAI have the money to pay Mick McCarthy for another year beyond what they were going to pay him? And remember, there was the bonus payment that was supposed to be triggered at the end of his deal, irrespective of what happened anyway. So, like, the finances of this will absolutely end up playing a part, because we all live in a real world.
Like, maybe it does become a renegotiation and Mick McCarthy would be happier to, I guess the only thing he'll have to do is lead us into, well, I suppose the Nations League is going to come up as well, but maybe he will be happy to take a pay cut. Maybe the FAI can say to them, there were numerous things that have happened since we appointed you as Republic of Ireland manager. First of all, financially, this organisation has found itself in a huge amount of trouble. And secondly, the world has found itself in a huge amount of financial trouble as a result of coronavirus. That means, Mick, we cannot pay you the same wage for another year. Would you be happy to take X euros and we will proceed with a lesser figure for the next year? And if so, let's go ahead and do this. We can't pay you what we've already paid you. And then maybe we can reach an agreement, because that is the other hurdle now, the financial thing that will come from keeping Mick McCarthy around for another year. But I think it's right to actually offer him that. Now, he will say, why are you giving me a pay cut after I've just qualified you for the Euros, which does, I guess, seem a bit ridiculous. But as you've already said, these are extraordinary circumstances. This is not normal. It's not been normal for the FAI, and it's not going to be normal for the world after this either. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll move on. We'll move on to
on that one. Sorry, the back page of the Indo obviously has that D-Day for horse racing as D-Day as HRI meeting could cancel Irish racing. There's a conference call board meeting for HRI this afternoon. We'll obviously keep a very close eye on that for any information coming through. What have you got for us next, Owen?
Let's have a look at The Guardian, and a headline there: Euros move into stoppage time. UEFA shifts summer tournaments to 2021. Governing body aims for end of June finish for all European club competitions. Hales blow, Pakistan T20 league called off after batsman symptoms. And French farce, problem for Clay King Nadal as Open moves to September.
French farce is a pretty harsh headline from The Guardian, isn't it? I mean, come on.
Not much they could have done about that, to be honest. It's the screw you for being the epicenter of this pandemic, France.
Yeah, let's just wait and see how everything. Is Wimbledon? Let's wait and see. Will they call it English farce when Wimbledon moves a little bit later on in the year? Let's just wait and see. I'm keeping an eye on you, Guardian. Front page of the Irish Times this morning. Gordon Darcy saying, "Right now, I'd rather be in the Irish system." So this is a picture of Joe Schmidt and Ian Madigan. Mads had the vital coach-player relationship with Joe that he will seek to build with Dan McFarland at Ulster. Really interesting interview with Ian Madigan on Off the Ball the other night with Joe. He was talking about coming back to Ireland. He signed a one-year deal with Ulster, and he'll leave Bristol at the end of the season, whenever that happens. So Gordon Darcy says, filling our day the only way we know how, walk both dogs separately, took the kids on scooter adventures separately before making French toast and watching Bambi. That was 8 o'clock to noon sorted. So far, I've resisted torturing the family with a VHS to DVD evolving series, charting my career. Chapter 1, early days, March 96, Clongowes versus Newbridge College. I mean, he's laughing about this now, but we're going to Skype into his living room and watch those games with him in a couple of weeks' time. So, Gordon, don't be blowing all your good material just yet. Euro 2020 postponement adds considerably to FAI challenges. This is certainly one of the most challenged and challenging situations that any sports administration body are ever going to find themselves in. From the shit show that they inherited to the coronavirus pushing back everything, notwithstanding the fact that they had to organise some of the games here and help organise some of the games here. A very difficult job that the FAI have on their plates at the moment. No need for drastic decisions over games, says the IOC. The IOC not really moving as quickly as everybody else is.
No.
Despite the fact that one of their high-ranking officials came down with coronavirus. I mean, what do you do? Do you put a pin in it now and then things improve in 6 weeks' time? You're like, oh, balls, we could have got that away. Or do you leave it to the very last minute and give yourself the window of opportunity to say, it's going to be different, it'll be a slimmed down version. Not everybody who was going to make it is actually going to make it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe for the first time, the world looks at the Olympic Games and goes, we really need this now.
The only way I could legitimately see this going ahead is if all the various governing bodies for all the different sports for the Olympics actually say, right, we are going to move our qualifying tournaments to Japan the week before the Olympic Games. That is the only way this happens. You can't just say to people, sorry, we didn't actually manage to hold your qualifying bouts, if it's boxing or whatever, or I think obviously a lot of the boxing did go ahead, but say the Irish swim meet, for example, next month, those sort of events that actually can't go ahead now. Yeah. Can he not just take your best national qualifier, put them into a de facto qualification tournament right before the Olympic Games starts in Tokyo 2 weeks beforehand, and just get on with it that way. That is the only way I see it happening. If that can't happen, you have to kick it back 12 months. Now, people will say, athletes wanted to peak for this moment, and this will now be taken away from them. 12 months is a huge time. I'm sure there are athletes who are going to miss out on this summer as a result of injury or anything like that. So it will open doors for other people. That is just the way sport tends to happen. There is a lot of bad luck, a lot of good luck. But I think if you're not going to be able to properly have the qualifying competitions get underway over the next few months, then you have to kick it back till next year, unless you can just make it happen a week before Tokyo. I know that increased costs and it's a logistical nightmare to fly extra athletes over, but it's the fairest way to do it. And you're right, maybe that is what we need at the end of the summer, because maybe come July, the world will be in a better place. But I do feel that this whole thing has been a little bit focused from a Japanese perspective. Like, this is a global event. This is not a Japanese event. Sure, it's getting better in that part of the world, but it's getting a hell of a lot worse over here.
Yeah, and so those two things are going to coalesce, and ultimately maybe a bunch of athletes don't decide not to go, and the IOC goes ahead with it, and that's not necessarily the right decision either. But we'll wait and see. And as for the moment, the IOC obviously holding a watching brief as well. The headline in the Examiner this morning is IOC remains fully committed to delivering Tokyo Games this summer. And then also that story we've been talking about, no appetite to address handover plan until June. That's the FAI's. And Donal Lennon's written a column today. Farrell must prepare to jump from famine to a feast of activity. So look, if there is a feast of activity at any point over the autumn, we'll all be delighted with that. The Irish Sun, their front page headline this morning is Test Drive. GAA joins virus fight. First cars go for Croke Park swab. Leo, it's calm before the storm and 69 new cases found in Ireland.
The Mirror this morning, I've got the UK version here. Isolated is the headline. UEFA fear Premier League are way behind even Italy and may not play again for months. Virus costs Manchester United £1 billion and has pushed Barnet to the brink. And the last post, it's so turf to take as racing off until May. So this is going to be a very interesting thread over the next couple of weeks and months. The difference between Irish sport being ready to get the green light whenever that may happen, and UK sport getting ready to get the green light.
The London Times free of the back page headline there is Olympics are 90% certain to be delayed, and FA expecting to lose 100 million. French Open stirs up storm. A political row is brewing in tennis after the French Open made a unilateral decision to move the tournament back by 4 months without consulting players and other governing bodies. Pardon me. So they've picked dates in September, which clashes with a range of other things, including the Laver Cup. So, I mean, the Laver Cup, not something that everybody's familiar with. It was a makey-uppy tournament that Roger Federer's management agency invented. And so the French Open should obviously take precedence because it's one of the most important and prestigious tournaments. So anyway, France made a decision, didn't tell everybody about it, and apparently that's the French farce that The Guardian were talking about a little bit earlier on. John Hoare's been in touch to say, hey lads, can you share a kind of top 10 OTB interviews from the last 2 or 3 years? Running out of stuff to do, haha, he says. Thanks. OTB Gold is a series which we've launched on OTB Sports Radio. We haven't released it separately from OTB Sports Radio, so the only place you could get it up to this point was OTB Sports Radio. But events, dear boy, events. So we are going to start playing those out for you on the radio, on News Talk, and then we're also going to launch our own podcast series called OTB Gold. That podcast series is coming soon for you. That's pretty much us done on the newspapers. I think if we missed anything, we'll come back to it a little bit later. If you want to get in touch this morning, you can drop a comment on the YouTube stream, youtube.com/off the ball. Or, of course, you can always get in touch by WhatsApp 087 9180 180. We're going to take a quick break, then we're going to go to Barcelona. Graham Hunter is standing by to talk to him about events in European football, what the leagues might be considering doing to try and get this played, and also how life is like in Spain.